Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're unmasking the true story behind one of the world's most infamous works of art. A painting that wasn't just popular, it was supposedly cursed. Let's get right into it. Chances are you've seen this face. For decades, prints of this painting, known as the Crying Boy, were absolutely everywhere. I mean, hanging on the walls of living rooms, in shops, even on buses, all the way from the UK to Turkey. That sad, innocent expression, it just made it an incredibly popular piece of art.
But behind that teary-eyed gaze lies a totally terrifying urban legend. We're talking a story of mysterious fires, awful luck, and a curse that actually sparked a nationwide panic.
So our story really kicks off in the 1980s. This is when this tearful little face went from being just a piece of popular decor to the absolute centerpiece of a terrifying national mystery. Okay, so it all started on September 4th, 1985. The British tabloid The Sun published the shocking story about a couple, Ron and May Hall. Their house in Rotherham had been completely ravaged by a fire. It was started by an overheated chip pan. But amidst all the ashes and the ruin of their ground floor, one single thing survived, completely unscathed: their print of the Crying Boy. But here's where it gets really weird. This wasn't just a one-off story. The article also quoted a local firefighter who had a chilling claim. He said he'd seen this exact same thing happen in at least 15 different house fires. And with that, a single bizarre incident was about to ignite a media firestorm. So with the media fanning the flames, a bizarre coincidence was about to become a full-blown national panic. Let's trace just how this legend caught fire. Things moved so incredibly fast. After that first article hit in September, a flood of similar stories just poured in. By Halloween, only 2 months later, the panic was so intense that the Sun newspaper organized a massive public bonfire to destroy the prints once and for all. And just how widespread was this panic? Well, over 2,500 terrified readers mailed their own prints of the painting to the newspaper, literally begging for them to be burned in that bonfire. They genuinely believed their homes were cursed. And you know how these things go. The stories became more and more supernatural. People didn't just blame the paintings for fires anymore. They started reporting hearing crying sounds at night, seeing the boys' tears turn to blood, watching the paintings sway on their own. Owners claimed they were just plagued by this sudden string of terrible luck that only started after they brought the painting home. Okay, it's a terrifying legend for sure, but now let's do what we do best and separate the folklore from the facts. Because it turns out there's a perfectly logical explanation for why these prints survived the flames. This was the image that fueled the entire legend, right? A tear-stained face staring out from the ashes of a ruined home. I mean, it's a powerful, chilling idea. But was there really something supernatural at play here? Well, it turns out the prints weren't magically protected at all. They were just made of tough stuff. See, the images were printed on a dense, compressed board that's actually really hard to set on fire. And on top of that, many were coated with a fire-retardant varnish. So when a fire started, the string holding it up would burn, the print would fall face down, and its durable back would just shield the image from the flames. Simple as that. You know, fire officials at the time repeatedly tried to explain the real cause of the fires. It wasn't a curse. It was faulty heaters, unattended stoves, and just general carelessness. Sadly, all pretty common occurrences, especially back then. So why did so many fires seem to involve this painting? Well, it really comes down to this one number: 50,000. Over 50,000 copies were sold across the UK, mostly in working-class homes where older, less safe heating was pretty common. It wasn't a curse, it was simply a matter of probability. Okay, so the curse is busted, but that still leaves two big questions. Who actually painted this iconic image, and who was the boy in the portrait? The artist was an Italian painter named Bruno Amadio, though he often used the pseudonym Giovanni Brogolin. He was actually known for painting portraits of children he'd encounter, often from poor backgrounds, and he created a whole series of these crying children paintings. And get this, there wasn't just one crying boy. The most famous version, sure, it had brown hair, but the artist, Amadio, he created dozens of variations to appeal to different tastes, some with blonde hair and blue eyes, and some were even paintings of little girls. So, these weren't some priceless, haunted artifacts. No way. They were cheap, mass-market prints. And that's exactly why they were in so many homes to begin with, which just set the perfect stage for an urban legend to take hold. But even though we can explain the science and we can trace the history, the spooky story of the crying boy it refuses to fade away. Its legacy is honestly just as fascinating as the myth itself. The staying power of this curse is just incredible. It's been joked about on shows like The Ricky Gervais Show. As recently as 2008, it sparked a whole new panic down in Chile. And in Turkey, the painting is actually affectionately known as Chico, and it's still kind of a nostalgic cultural icon. So in the end, we know the facts. We know the fires were caused by faulty wiring, and the prints survived because they were fire resistant. But the legend, it persists, and it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Why are we so drawn to a good story, even when we have all the facts that tell us it isn't true?